Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good afternoon to everyone. This is the final law of the 48 laws of power: assume formlessness. As the author said, by taking shape, by having a visible plan, you open yourself to attack. Instead, Instead of taking a form for your enemy to grasp, keep yourself adaptable and on the move. Accept the fact that nothing is certain and no law is fixed. The best way to protect yourself is to be as fluid and formless as water. Never bet on stability or lasting order, everything changes. So the chapter started by the story of how the Spartans lived in military format since they were kids. They dedicated their life to the art of war, so they thought that they would be tougher, stronger, and fiercer than their neighbors. On the other hand, the Athens were rising to prominence to create colonies for trade. They became great merchants as their currency, known by the owl, got famous throughout the Mediterranean. Unlike the Spartans, Athenians were more creative, sociable, and creating uniforms at an incredible pace. Worried about who was being more powerful, they entered war for 27 years, and obviously the Spartans won. Ironically, Spartans were so rigid that they had culture shock with Athenians' culture, politics, and economy that they were diluted in Athenians' forms. Their identity grew weaker, and almost overnight the Spartans collapsed. This part reminds me of the pandemic right now. The coronavirus right now has been adapting, evolving to the vaccine and mutating vigorously, that if we human chose to stay and not adapting, we might be the new Spartans. The chapter then continues to tell the story of how Chinese nationalists, led by Chiang Kai-shek, tried to eliminate the Chinese communists after the World War II ended. Initially, the nationalists easily conquered the Manchurian cities, the communist headquarters. But soon after, the communist strategy made no sense to the nationalists, as they described the communist strategy as cowardice in the face of superior forces and inexperience in strategy. For example, they would size a town only to give it up a few weeks later. That would make it hard for the nationalists to attack. Soon after, in 1948, nationalists surrendered, and the following year, the communists controlled all over China. These stories reminded me of the great commander in Islamic history. Remember Khalid bin al-Walid, with his creativity during wars. He did not rigidly follow his old way of war, but he observed and adapted his strategy to achieve the goal. One of the plus points for the chapter is that it is telling events that happened in the past in an attractive format that is easy to read. At the same time, we could learn history, past events, and eventually understand part of being a human, in this case, how to be flexible. One of the negative points, probably, it is telling too much of history, and it is quite hard to relate to modern days. As a summary, assume formlessness or being flexible is what we need the most in this era. If we choose to stick with the old ways, we will definitely be left behind by those who advanced in this world. Take Rasulullah as an example of being flexible. He used shura with his companions and adapt to the culture of the people in the cities he was in. But his goal was still the same, only his ways were more flexible. That is why he is the most influential people in the world. That is all. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.